So we're here on the second day of VMworld, and this morning Steve Herrod actually did the keynote presentation. Very interesting, Steve. A lot of news about desktop virtualization. I heard the whole PCoIP experience. When is that going to happen? When will that be available for everyone?
Yeah, a big part of our next View offering is PC over IP, which is our ground-up development with a company called Teradici to make the remote user experience on a desktop as good as possible. So we will be shipping that later this year.
So before the end of the year, I can finally run any application from home, graphical and all.
Yeah, we have a lot of customers in beta right now, and we're getting really good feedback so far that they can work well over the WAN and over the LAN.
That's awesome, and I see that it's not just fat clients, normal PCs, but we're moving also to more the mobile devices. I've seen that you've been talking about the virtualization platform for mobiles. When can we expect really that on my mobile I can run multiple virtual machines?
Yeah, so we're doing hypervisors for laptops, certainly, that type of mobile, but we also talked a little bit about mobile phones, and we really do visualize those as another type of managed endpoint that customers have to deal with and work with. So we have a working hypervisor for mobile phones today. It's in evaluation by a number of customers. We haven't made any formal announcements yet, but I think you'll start to see that next year sometime.
Yeah, you also mentioned that we're actually making a client hypervisor for laptops, a Type 1 hypervisor. Do we know when that's going to be available?
Yeah, we'll be doing that next year, so we haven't listed an official date yet, but we're hard at work on it with Intel, and I think people like it when they see it.
So great, a lot of news about desktop virtualization, but there's also a lot of news about the data center. And one of the things I heard about is this whole mobile administration using mobile devices to manage the data center. And you were talking about that we have this software that you can actually manage virtual center from a mobile. Can you say something about it? Is that available?
Yeah, it's actually freely available. It's available for download from our site, and you can manage your VI 3.5 and your vSphere infrastructure essentially from any one of the cell phones with some pretty simple setup. We actually did a session here yesterday, and I'm told it was mobbed and a standing ovation. So apparently it's extremely popular. And we really just started it as a way to let you have anytime access to your data center and take care of those alerts that you can remotely.
That's really great, but I also heard one thing new, that it was not just to manage Virtual Center, but also VMware View. What's the story around that?
Yeah, like I said, we're kind of getting mobile fever a little bit at VMware. So some of our engineers have cooked up some early prototypes of the same thing to manage your View environment. So we don't have that shipping today, but based on the feedback we get at this event, we might accelerate getting that out also for people to use to be a little more efficient with their time.
So that's really great. Not administrators can work mobile, or the end users can work mobile. I really see that VMware is coming into this whole mobile world. Yeah. So one other story that we've been hearing a lot about, and we've seen a lot of people been asking us a lot of questions about, is this long-distance vMotion story. And you were talking about the partners are actually making this possible today. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, I mentioned this on stage, but I was pretty amazed by how quickly the partner ecosystem has jumped on top of the idea of moving a live virtual machine between data centers. And I actually didn't think it'd be something that was happening real soon, but both Cisco and F5 and a company called F4 are all demonstrating how today, with our existing products, they can move live machines between two different data centers. NetApp and EMC are also doing some pretty interesting disk technologies. So it's actually true that today, for a specific configuration and a specific environment, there are companies moving long-distance vMotion to their VMs. So pretty amazing. I think over time we're really going to make it less exotic and less specific configurations, but we're on our way right now.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the follow the sun principle, but I heard you something that I've never heard before. Follow the moon concept. What is that about?
No, I like that one. In general, the power costs in any area are less at nighttime because there's less demand. So I've seen some customers talking about moving their virtual machine to the area where power is cheapest. So we kind of call it follow the moon because that's where the power is cheapest. So if you have a long-running set of applications doing payroll or something, maybe you could move them around and leverage the cheapest power to execute those.
Okay, great. I thought we were going to do vMotion to the moon or something like that. But one final thing I heard about is that we have to look out for announcements about these self-portals that you can go online, create virtual machines very easily. What should we be looking out for?
Yeah, so we announced that we're really expanding our Lab Manager product to be a more general-purpose tool. And this is a key part of our cloud initiative, but it's also something the local data center will want. So those of you that have used Lab Manager, you really are logging into a personal portal, and you can really help yourself and just power on things at will. Today we really use it for dev and QA, but it's very easy to extend the same concept to people who are really wanting to run things in production. So it's more of a general trend, and you'll also see some different products coming out that really expand Lab Manager into general purpose use.
So it's not just for hosting providers, but people that in-house actually want to make their users ease of access to creating new virtual machines available.
Yeah, I originally thought it would be really something the cloud providers would be real big on because that's what they're associated with. But the more we talk to IT staff, the more they're getting the demand for this self-service concept. So I think it'll be equally exciting in that space.
So one other question I really want to ask you, this whole Spring source thing, most of the people that probably are watching us here are not developers, not programmers, might not even know what PHP is. So what is this announcement about, and can you explain this for an IT administrator and what they will benefit from this in the coming year?
Yeah, it's we're going to roll out a lot more as we actually close the acquisition. It's not closed yet, but real quickly, Spring arose as an alternative to a fairly complex way of writing Java programs, the dominant language in the data center. So Spring came in and said, here's a simpler way to write and run your Java programs, which really should ring a bell for VMware administrators. It's about simplicity and making things easier to do. But the difference is that they're looking up at application developers and trying to make it as easy as possible for them to get their job done. We're looking at the infrastructure for the most part and making it as simple and automated as you can. So the promise in a simplistic way is that we can tie the application developers more tightly to a very fluid infrastructure. And the end game is that we're going to make it easier to write and to deploy these Java applications than ever before.
Yeah, and these applications are going to be aware of the virtual environment that I understand. So if an application suddenly thinks, oh, I need more processors, it can actually say to the infrastructure, give me more processors, and then that will happen?
That's one example, although it's very important to note, a coder doesn't need to know about this. The beauty of these, what we call application frameworks, is that there are layers between what you're actually writing and where things are actually happening, things like application servers. So in this case, it would be the application server that has better awareness over performance or availability needs, and it can communicate downward to vSphere and say, I would like you to move this virtual machine or clone it. And that sort of thing. So the important thing is that the coder does not need to know that there's magic going on here. It's up to this middleware communicating with us.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. Tonight we'll, of course, have the VMworld party, and I look forward to seeing you there as well. Are you going to dance for us?
I'm a big fan of Foreigner, so I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. This is Richard reporting for VMworld.